According to your word, I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. If you said it, we believe it. Yeah. If you said it, we believe it. 'Cause you're a man of your word. If you said it, we believe it.
Good morning. My name is MLK, class of 2015, social studies teacher, head of Pro House, and moderator of the Black Latino Student Union. To the Board of Trustees, President Regan, Principal Lewis, faculty and staff, our distinguished guests, families, alumni, students from Fontbonne and NDA, and to the young men of BC High. Welcome to our annual Martin Luther King Jr. prayer service. As a student at BC High, I look forward to this prayer service every year. As a Black student, it was a time to reflect, admire, and appreciate the legacy of a man who dedicated his life to advance the lives of people who look like me. In his short life, Dr. King embodied all the characteristics and values we hope to foster in the graduates of BC High. Dr. King was loving, selfless, and committed to justice. He was a servant leader at a time when folks who looked like him were considered second-class citizens. It is no surprise that King was chosen to serve as a house patron here at our school. Today's prayer service is the result of weeks of planning and preparation. Every year, BLSU brainstorms a list of themes, speakers, and musicians that we hope can help us celebrate and animate the life of Dr. King. We are lucky today to have Dr. Keith Motley as our keynote speaker and Chris Bender and his band to accompany us in song. Our theme today is the power of stories. As we ask ourselves the question, what do I bring to BC High? Now, it is my honor to call up senior Damien Harris of Pro House and a Nativity graduate to call us to worship.
Good morning. My name is Damien Harrison from the class of 2023, member of Pro House and president of the Black and Latino Student Union. We gather here to honor the life and legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King was one of the most prominent leaders of the civil rights movement. He led countless nonviolent protests combating racial segregation and Jim Crow laws. Despite often being met by white supremacist groups and law enforcement, he remained committed to justice. He led notable movements such as the Montgomery bus boycott and the March on Washington, which led to the passing of the Voting Rights Act and Civil Rights Act. He was an activist, a minister, intellectual, husband, father, orator, and revolutionary. He believed in a faith that does justice. The MLK service has been a long-standing tradition of BC High. However, in 2021 and 2022, the service was held virtually due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Only our senior class has had the privilege to witness the prayer service in its full potential. Returning to this tradition, we must take into account the many societal changes since our last time in person. Beginning in 2020, our country and the world began grappling more with the history of racism and its continued impacts. Here at BC High, it is crucial to reconsider what the legacy of MLK means to us. In MLK's I Have a Dream speech, he dreamed our nation would live out the true meaning of its creed, that we would embody the values that we hold most dear, that all men are created equal. His legacy calls on us to do the same in our communities and schools. In BC High, to hold each other accountable to our Catholic and Jesuit values, and remain our commitment to being anti-racist. I invite you to silently consider, now and throughout our service, how have we contributed to MLK's dream? How have we fallen short of it? This prayer service is hosted by BLSU to ensure that the voices, perspectives, and experiences shaped and inspired by Black history, heritage, and tradition are highlighted in a way that is authentic to us. The theme for this year's MLK prayer service is What Do You Bring to BC High? With a special focus on what BLSU members bring and have brought to our BC High community, as well as what does it mean to be young, gifted, and Black. Lorraine Hansberry, author of A Raisin in the Sun, once said, "There would be a thrilling and marvelous thing to be merely young and gifted. In such times, it is doubly so doubly dynamic to be young, gifted, and Black." It is so doubly dynamic because of the perilous history African Americans have faced in this country since its formation. But with that, we continue to persevere. We continue to overcome. But we are harnessing the gifts that our talents, that our ancestors and God gave us. We as Black people have made our place in our school, in the Catholic Church, and all the other communities and institutions we're a part of. One of our house patrons is Sister Thea Bowman. Sister Thea spent many of her years as an educator until a bishop invited her to be a consultant for her intellectual awareness. She spent her life's work breaking down racial and cultural barriers within the church. She used her gospel preachings, singing, praying, and storytelling to disrupt racism within America and the church. When asked what it means to be Black and Catholic, she said, "It means that I come to my church fully functioning. I bring myself, my Black self, all that I am, all that I have, all that I hope to become. I bring my whole history, my traditions, my experience, my culture, my African American song and dance, and gesture and movement, and teaching and preaching, and healing and responsibility as gifts to the church." Every member of the BC High community, student and adult, brings all that we are, all that we have, and all that we hope to become here at school. We as in Black people bring in the many forms we express our culture, through our hair, our two-strand twists and locks, our kinky and coily curls, spiraling waves, our many forms of braids from cornrows to knotless to box, our afros that stand and defy the laws of gravity. We bring through our wardrobe, our unapologetically loud and bright colors, kente patterns, and shoes that give us wings to catch flight. Through our music, a chest-pounding bass that quite literally shakes the room, a rhythm and soul that pulls on our heartstring, and gospel that echoes heaven's gates. Damien, bring all that I inherited, both the struggle and the triumph. I bring my lived experience, offering new perspective and insights. I bring the voice that can only speak for one, but mirrors many. In this time together, I invite you to celebrate and commemorate Black history, culture, and the legacy of Dr. King. We will have scripture, sermon, poetry, and song. I invite you to sing and clap along, on beat now, to all hymns, to listen with reverence to all that is shared today. We continue to promote, affirm, and acknowledge human diversity as a gift that can connect us rather than isolate us, to focus on what unites us rather than separates us. I invite you to engage in with what BLSU brings to BC High, to think about what you bring to BC High, whoever you are and wherever you come from, to embrace this conversation beyond today's service. Think about how we as young people can be agents of change in a world that so desperately thirsts for it. It is often young people leading movements combating all forms of oppression and injustice. Many activists began their advocacy in their adolescence, as Dr. King did. Through his teachings, he inspires us all to continue paving the path and moving towards the pursuit of justice, equity, and inclusion. Thank you. We will now begin our service in song.
Please stand. Good morning, everybody. Can you do me a favor? Can you make some noise if you're excited about being here today? Oh no, I need you to make like some really big noise if you're excited about being here. Oh, bring it down. So I wanna just walk you through it for a second. First, my name is Chris, as you heard. I'm so excited about being here. I'm a gospel artist. I'm born and raised in Boston. And it is my privilege to be with you all today. Like, you guys look so good. I'm so excited. But this next, like, 2 songs that we do is going to require energy. Can you look at somebody next to you and say, we need energy? Okay, look at somebody else on the other side. Like, we need energy. Okay, so what I need you to do, right, is this song is really simple. It's going to give you a couple of, like, slight commands. And all you got to do is just follow after us, all right? So the first command that we have is a double clap like this. It goes, clap, 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 clap. You jump, clap. Come on, hold it, let me see. Clap. Okay, that's a good one, that's a good one. So the next command that the song requires is a simple line. Anybody sing in the room? We have some singers here? Maybe, like 2 or 3? Oh, come on, y'all lying today? Oh my gosh, I had the MLK service. So the next one is a little line that you gotta sing. It goes like this. Can y'all try it? You try it. Do it again. Everybody together, say it. Okay, all right. I think we can do the song now because you guys got the commands. Are you ready for the song? The song simply talks about freedom, and the Bible tells us who the Son sets free is truly free indeed, which also it only means, right? It simply means that whenever you walk into a space of liberty in your faith, you are completely free to be there for as long as you desire to. You ready to celebrate? Are you ready to celebrate? Let's go. 1, 2. Get that clap, ready to go. 1, 2. Everybody clap it up. Yeah, that's it. That's it. I'm ready right here. So the song is simple. It says like this. Here we go. I want to clap a little louder than before. Ready? Clap, clap, clap. Yeah. I want to sing a little louder than before. There we go. See, I want to spin a little louder than before. Then you gotta spin. Now somebody, anybody, everybody's free. Put your voice and say freedom. Come on, clap your hands. Everybody say, lift it up and say, yeah. That's the whole song right there. No more shackles.
No more shackles, no more chains, no more bonds. I am free.
Let's say it again. No more shackles, no more chains.
No more shackles, no more chains, no more bonds. I am free.
We're singing the people for it. No more shackles, no more chains.
No more shackles, no more chains, no more bonds. I am free.
I need you to clap. Everybody do the dance of freedom and say hallelujah, 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 everybody clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. We have to be saved. No more shackles, no more chains, no more bondage. We are free. Yeah. Oh, freedom, 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 freedom. Can I hear y'all say the song? Oh, are y'all singing the song? Come on, make it a little louder. Hit me real big, man. I gotta hear them. I need to hear y'all sing it one more time. Sing the shout. Come on, you got it. Let's go. As you're singing it, he's doing freedom. Come on, join the harmony. Sing freedom. 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 That's it. Freedom. Freedom. Come on, somebody clap your hands. And scream in this room. You are free.
Y'all feeling it yet? I would now like to call up Katon Francis, captain of Bowman House, to come up and offer us an MLK connection.
What do you think sparked MLK to go down the path he did? What drove him to become the legendary activist he became? Senior year of high school in 1944, a 15-year-old Martin Luther King Jr. had a burning desire for equal rights. This was spurred on by a racial incident in which he had to give up his seat to a white person on a long bus ride back to Alabama. King later reflected, "That night will never leave my memory. It was the angriest I have ever been in my life." He'd even been upset with his teacher for trying to make peace, pushing him to leave his seat. But far more, he resented the chains of America that had shackled him to the back of the bus. He continued by saying, "Suddenly, I realized You don't count. You're nobody. During that summer, a young MLK traveled to Simsbury, Connecticut to work as a tobacco farmer. In a letter to his father, MLK wrote, "On our way here, we saw some things I had never anticipated to see. After we passed Washington, there was no more discrimination at all. The white people here are very nice. We go to any place we want and sit anywhere we want to." He wrote of worshiping alongside whites in a Simsbury church and dining at Hartford. Continued by saying, "I never thought that a person of my race could eat anywhere, but we ate in one of the finest restaurants." The state was not free of racism, of course, but the lack of segregation made a lasting impression on the young man. Later that year in September, Martin Luther King Jr. brought his talents to Morehouse College. With him, he stowed his frustration with segregation and his dreams of a fair world from his time in Connecticut. MLK's experience encouraged him to attend Boston University for his graduate studies, where he met his future wife. So where might your experiences lead you to? Think of your relationships, your classes, your clubs and teams. What deeply affected you? What is developing your awareness of the world? Now listen carefully to our scripture reading and consider how you may be called by God, like Samuel and like MLK. Thank you.
Thank you, Q. I now will call up Dorian Herbert Mathias, sophomore from Xavier House, for our scripture reading.
A reading from the book of Samuel. During the time, young Samuel was a minister to the Lord under Eli. The word of the Lord was scarce and the vision was frequent. One day, Eli was asleep in his usual place. His eyes had lately grown so weak that he could not see. Glory of God was not yet extinguished. Samuel was sleeping in the temple of the Lord, where the ark of God was. The Lord called Samuel, who answered, "Here I am." He went to Eli and said, "Here I am, you called me? I did not call you." Eli answered, "Go back to sleep." He went back to sleep. Again the Lord called Samuel, who rose and went to Eli. "Here I am," he said. "You called me?" But he answered, "I did not call you, my son. Go back to sleep." Samuel did not yet recognize the Lord, and the word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to him. The Lord called Samuel again for the third time. Getting up to go to Eli, he said, "Here I am, you called me?" Then Eli understood that the Lord was calling the youth. So he said to Samuel, "Go to sleep, and if you're called, reply, 'Speak, Lord,' for your servant listening." When Samuel went to sleep in his place, the Lord came and stood there, calling out to Samuel before, "Samuel, Samuel." Samuel answered, "Speak, for your servant listening." The Lord said to Samuel, "I am about to do something in Israel that will make the ears of everyone who hears it ring, the word of the Lord."
I will now call up sophomore Joshua Hennis from Romero House to lead us in a hymn.
see the struggles they last, but as time passed, it's been one thing after the other. Oh, I may always not know the right way. No, I may always not know what to say, but all I know is something happens when I pray. I know I can get through when I pray. I know I can reach you when I call your name. You're never too busy for me. You're never too busy for me. When I found myself at the end of the road, looking for it and I see a fork in the road. Hell if I know which way to go. It feels so low, life's so I'm not very eloquent in speech. I don't know it nor to sound holy when I speak. But Papa told me something happens when I pray. I know I can get through when I pray. I know I can reach you when I call your name. You're never too busy for me. You're never too busy for me when I pray. I know I can get through when I pray. I know I can reach you when I call your name. You're never too busy for me. You're never too busy for me when I pray. I know you will never let me try. It's not in your nature to turn away when the humble pray. When I cry, I know you will never leave me empty. It's not in your nature to turn away when the humble pray. So when I pray, I know I can get through when I pray. I know I can reach you when I call your name. You're never too busy for me. You're never too busy for me when I pray. I know I can get through when I pray. I know I can reach you when I call your name. You're never too busy for me. Let me hear everybody say when I pray. I know I can get through when I pray. I know I can reach you when I call your name. You're never too busy for me. You're never too busy for me when I pray. I know I can get through when I pray. I know I can reach you when I call your name. You're never too busy for me. You're never too busy for me when I pray. I know I can get through when I pray. I know I can reach you when I call your name. You're never too busy for me. You're never too busy for me when I pray. I know I can get through when I pray. I know I can reach you when I call your name. You're never too busy for me. You're never too busy for me when I pray. I know I can get through when I pray. I know I can reach you when I call your name. You're never too busy for me. You're never too busy for me when I pray. I know I can get through when I pray. I know I can reach you when I call your name. You're never too busy for me. You're never too busy for me when I pray. So many things happen in the world. So many things, oh no. But when I pray, I feel like I can get through it all when I pray. No matter sunshine or gray, I feel it inside my bones. When I pray, I feel like I am making through whatever happens in the world. So let the Lord just come on through. So that is why I say, when I pray, I know I can get through when I pray. I know I can reach you when I call your name. You're never too busy for me. You're never too busy for me when I pray. I know I can get through. I know I can reach you when I call your name. You're never too busy for me. You're never too busy for me when I pray.
Joshua. One more time for Joshua. I would now call up Don Bazile, sophomore from Mickey House, to introduce our keynote speaker.
Dr. Motley served as the first African-American chancellor of the University of Massachusetts, Boston from 2007 to 2017, but was part of the school in different capacities for many years before that. Under Dr. Motley's direction, UMass Boston grew into the most diverse public university in New England. The work to ensure that academic excellence, access, and inclusion remain top priorities. Throughout his time at UMass Boston, he formed many great relationships with the BC High community, was a major player in the partnership between UMass Boston and BC High in the Monin Park, in honoring one of his mentors, Father Don Monin, S.J. In addition to serving our neighbors on Columbia Point, Dr. Motley has been an instrumental figure in the Black community in the city of Boston. Among his roles and achievements, he founded and is now Chair Emeritus of Roxbury Prep Charter School, founder of Concerned Black Men of Massachusetts, and the Paul Robeson Institute for Positive Self-Development, an academic social program for school-aged children of color. Together with these roles, his numerous board appointments and memberships have landed him on the Boston Globe's Diversity Boston list for local leaders who have promoted diversity in the city. Everybody, please welcome Dr. Keith Motley.
I'm gonna give it back. I figured since you were gonna walk away and diss me. No, listen, thank you so much. And thanks for letting me borrow this kente cloth. You know, I put on my bow tie this morning, but when I saw you, it was amazing. So, and to see all of you here this morning. What an amazing thing to be here live and in living color. I tell you, it's nice to be out. It is really nice to be out and be among you. Thank you to our Black and Latino Student Union for inviting your man to be here this morning. Some of you, when I was at the breakfast today, it's like, who is that dude? Well, you know, this is about telling our story today, and I'm gonna get to that in a minute. But 20 minutes to 25 minutes is what you've given me today. And then you had the nerve to bring me first to meet all these incredible students and these young men and these young women. Then you got the nerve to bring me in here and you got gospel music playing, knowing that that's my roots. And all of a sudden, you want me to sit back and be sophisticated like a chancellor or something. Well, I have never been the traditional type chancellor. That's why I stole your kente cloth. You'll get it back. But you got it back over and over and over and over again. See, you've been gifted with the opportunity to sit in that chair. And so for a minute, I just wanted to feel like you. For a minute, I just wanted to walk in here and feel the soul of this institution. When I look at you, I see myself. And I love what I'm seeing. So that's why I took this. Because I knew you would trust me to give it back, because I trusted you to make sure that everybody in this room understood exactly who I am. And part of who I am is messing with you. All right? So listen. The other thing I just want to say to the Creator, thank you, God, for making me a violinist. And not allowing me to have the talent of my man who just was on that piano and singing like that. Because I know I wouldn't be standing up here. if I had been able to play that piano like that and sing like you sing, instead of that violin, oh my God. So listen, I'm so proud of you and the speakers that you had before me. Y'all are amazing. My man, you know, I talked to your mama earlier, so I knew you were coming up. You're winding up. You wound up before you got up here to talk. And that was amazing for me. Then I saw you, tall and slim. I remembered myself. I used to look like that. So when you think you all that, look in the mirror one day, you hope to be this. Thank you. Somebody said, you still look good, man. I know. I mean, that was just for the crowd, you know. And you still got it. Thank you. Thank you. So listen, Boston College High School, thank you for inviting me out here today. I am so proud to be among you. You know, my family teases me because I've been left with a lot of I got my wife and my daughters in my house for the last few years, and we were locked in. So they say every time my son comes over with my grandson, I lose my mind. Because I haven't been around a whole lot of males in a long time. So walking in here today, my wife was sitting outside because we're going to the Embrace Boston unveiling a little bit later, where Dr. King and his wife will be honored with the first statue for somebody who looks just like many of you in this room. Will be unveiled down on the Boston Commons, so we're going down there. And she says, I know you're feeling good today. Look at all those guys. But then I come in here, and I'm like, I got to give a shout out to the folk that came from Notre Dame Academy. Oh my goodness, excuse me, ladies. Then I have to give a shout out to Dr. Ruth Evie and the young ladies from Bon Bon. What's going on over there? Oh, don't be all shy. You know the fellas saw you already. That's okay. Then I also have to say to Tech Boston, thank you all for being here. And of course, to your incredible president, thank you. I know this is a student-run event, but I have to say to my colleague, thank you so much for making sure that I got here today to be with these students. You all have energized me, and I'm glad to see that you all are holding up on this mission. And even when it was a challenge, because we all go through those, you have been incredibly willing to listen and to work together and to allow folks to lead in spaces that they deserve to lead in and to allow them to be able to grow. This opportunity you have today is one of the most incredible things that will impact your life. All of my life, I have had opportunities to do the things that you're doing today. Coming up on the stage, I was concertmaster in the orchestra. All those guys, I was an athlete. Still think I am in my mind. But all of those exposure opportunities are the things that have led to me being able to have the leadership roles I've had in my life. And so, just because I need a dose of that testosterone, can I have all of the Boston College community stand up, the young men, so I can see you? Give yourselves a round of applause. Yeah, I just want to absorb some of that energy. Thank you so much for that. So now I'll get into it because I know we're on a time clock and you all have messed me up already. Thank you for understanding that the importance of dialogue and listening to our youth here in this Boston College community. You know, communication with our youth is more important now than it's ever been. This pandemic has brought on this isolation. The notion of self-care has to become more prominent in all of our lives. Educators have to be open to as many avenues needed for students so that we can hear your voices. And we certainly have heard your voices today. We got to redouble our efforts to hear from our youth. I was so grateful that when I read through all the reports, there is a deeper level of communication that is happening here. But even when we fail, we're finding ways to be willing to listen. We're trying to create an environment where educators facilitate discussions that result in greater opportunities for tolerance, and I don't like that word, but also compassion. Mutually trusted relationships with students are important. Heightened awareness of healing bonding between students. Increased knowledge about students leading to different attitudes. If you come here with an attitude, you're going to leave here with an attitude. What I loved about you all, when I met you today, your attitude shifted. Like you said, clap your hands even if you're off rhythm. Even if that's something that you don't do in this environment, sometimes you got to clap your hands. Sometimes you have to relax a little bit. Sometimes you have to let that cultural piece of you flow. When that rhythm hits you, and the next thing you know, you can't help yourself. And you absolutely lose your mind because you understand it's mathematics. That it's on the 1 and the 2. You understand that it's science. It's all of those things combined. Student, I am so grateful for your positive behaviors and your attitudes toward your peers and your teachers. When you love that young man who's only a sophomore, who will never forget that you hugged him like that. Do you know what you've just done? You've demonstrated what Dr. King was talking about. That love and that passion for somebody. You don't even know if he really absolutely just needed that hug, not just because he sang, but there may be something going on deep inside of him. That hug just sort of brought out because he knows he got you. He knows that if anything in his life comes up, he got some partners and some people that he can go through. It's a lonely feeling when you don't have that. So thank you for demonstrating that. And parents, I love you. Some of you, I knew you when you were them. That makes you guys getting old. Because I know it's not me. But it's amazing to be able to stand here and see that it hasn't skipped a generation. That your quality is in your children. All those values you have are right in your children. And so I want to thank you, everybody in this room, for showing up this morning because, and that's the board, the faculty, the staff, the parents, and especially the students, because it reinforces the fact that we're on the right track in our movement to enhance the quality of education and the leadership that our youth are exposed to on a daily basis. And in turn, they are leading in ways that are going to make us proud. You know, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. That's why I sold your cloth, because I should have brought mine. But I'm just getting back out here. You've been out here for a minute. You know, so I only came with the bow tie. And I said, I'm feeling kind of naked. So I sold yours. But knowing yourself, understanding what this means, is the beginning of all of the wisdom that you have. That's for everyone in this room. Get to know and have a different view of you. That's what Dr. King was talking about. He was talking about looking in the mirror. You can say, I'm so beautiful, I'm so handsome, I'm so this and that. But do a deep soul dive into who you are and get a new view of yourself. And then you walk around like there's nothing in the world that can get in your way. Because you have been built for that. And if you're not built for it now, you keep striving every day to get better. You should wake up every morning with an inquisitiveness that tells you that you want to know. I want to know something different. Everything that I learned walking in here today has enhanced me. I thought I someone like you in 400 years to lead a research university in this city. You know, tall, bald-headed, handsome. First time they picked someone like that in the history of education in this city. But I didn't know the whole story. Father Monin was my mentor. How did he become my mentor? Because when I was you, the president of Northeastern, the president of BU, Father Monin was the president of Boston College, president of Leicester, the president of the University of Massachusetts, Boston. We're at Boston College for a program. And I was the person in charge of all of those presidents. Father Monin took a liking to me, and I couldn't get rid of him. Then when I came down here, my baseball team pitched to me in a business meeting, a field. And we worked together as a community with your trustees and with everyone to build that field with Father Monin. And at 90 years old, he walked out on that field and he wound up and he threw that ball and it dropped right there. And he said, yeah, this is what it's all about. So that's what it's all about. Living that fulfilled life. So what is my story? Over 40 years ago, I arrived here in Boston for the first time, and I told one of the men up here on the stage, I said, yeah, I'm from Pittsburgh. So he hated on me for being a Steelers fan. But when things are ingrained in you, that's why this time of your life is so important, and why I'm so adamant about letting nobody mess you up. Because even though I haven't been in that city since I was 16 years old, I came here to go to school and turned 17 when I was here. I still love that place because of how they nurtured me. The first person that put that violin in my hand, the first person that told me that I was brilliant, the first person that told me that I could lead anything, but didn't just tell me, provided opportunities for me to learn and see myself. The first time I realized who I am as a person. The first time somebody treated me wrong. And I understood how to love them and forgive them. All of those things you get right here. So that's why your parents and you and your teachers and your house folks who are leading you and your role models and all of us are saying to you, that's what Dr. King wanted. He wanted you to never feel like you couldn't have the opportunity to do the things that you could do. And he wanted that for all of us. So I had church and violin and acting lessons and computers when computers were as big as this gym. I was doing it. I didn't know. You know, I fought with my mother getting up on Saturday mornings. And she used to tell me, baby, you know, you're going to be able to lead anything. And I was listening to her and saying, can I sleep in on Saturday? No. But guess what? When you do what we call recursive learning, that's when you go back in your life and you look at it, remember this day, remember Dr. Motley told you, there's something that you're hating on your parents for, or you're hating on your teacher for, or you're hating on your pastor for, or you're hating on some father for, or you're hating on your peers for, that you feel like you're being forced to do, that when you reflect on it in the future, it's going to make you just say, I'm so glad that I'm prepped like that. When I told people I wanted to be a college president when we were at Northeastern, because I gave the baddest parties, I was playing basketball, right? So I'm leading the basketball team. Most of my friends, because I get along well with them, happen to be young ladies. Not girlfriend, boyfriend, but friends. They're still my friends. But I also knew how to spell library. So ago. That you can do this and that and this and this and that again. As long as you have your life in order. As long as you have your priorities in order. Dr. King looked like he never rested. Because he was always up to something. But he also knew he couldn't do it by himself. When I was growing up in Sunday school, Dr. King was a superhero. Because instead of reading Superman comic books, we read Dr. King comic books. Golden Legacy had a whole series. Toussaint and Haiti. So we know about revolutionary thinking. Dr. King, Frederick Douglass, they instilled those things in your head. Not in lieu of all the other great contributions that every culture in America in its melting pot has developed, but because you needed that, because you didn't see it every day. So I prayed for the day when I could walk in here and I could come into a room and you would not be surprised by my presence. And I would not be surprised by your abilities as young people. So remember, education is the key to lots of this. It's always been our space. It's always been the place that we could run to. So when I'm standing before you today, I remember coming to stuff like this, and I would hate on the speaker. Look at that. One day you're gonna be me. I sat right in the front row. We didn't have Google and all that. Y'all Googling a brother right now and all that. Let's see if he lying. I just was looking at him with all that in my head. I was Googling myself. And then one day you grow up. Or you continue to grow in your excellence. And now your position in those spaces. And you become these guys. These young men who I can pass the baton to and sit back at my house with all my ladies and just chill until they call me. Because you're in good hands with them. And I don't have to worry so much anymore. So they just roll me out on days like this. I slide in. I smile at the ladies in the front row. And then I take off. So I came to stuff like this wounded and irresponsible, but I came with open ears and open minds. And so we're asked to be this, operate out of this notion of gratitude. Be grateful that you have these opportunities, like coming here today and having some guy mess with you from the podium or take off your kente cloth. You know, there have been times when I'm doing commencement and I've taken my robe off and given it to one of you. Or my chain that only few people wear and given it to you. Because I wanted you to, I just needed a moment to feel like you today. And that's why I did it to you, at the soul of it. You understand? And so, operate out of gratitude. Know that this world is getting smaller and smaller. I marveled at the length of oak trees and all that when I was a kid. I used to go in the backyard and I had to read National Geographic to get around the world. You're around the world in seconds now. There's nothing that BC High School can confine you to or any of the other schools you go to. Because your neighborhood is the world now. And you are the purveyors of that. You know how to do it better than any of us will ever dream of doing. Don't be arrogant about that, because we can catch up real quick. We just don't have the same interest in it that you do. But if we get some interest, we'll catch you. You do us just like you did us on Facebook. You left us there. But I'm thinking and talking and walking and Instas and all that. I'm doing all that because I want to know what you get in your head. Dr. King speaks from eternity today. He would be amazed at our advancement, but he wouldn't be amazed by you. And so, my story is your story. Started in spaces like this, said yes to opportunities, had an opportunity to be a part of a group, got to meet people across generations, and then, most importantly, learned how to serve. Understand your responsibility as the talented individuals that all of you are. And that is to serve and serve and serve and serve. Take care of your family, but then understand the worldwide family that you're responsible for as well. Not as an individual, but as a collective. And so, I want to say to you, know that it's our time. It's your time. Dr. King is going to be celebrated all this weekend, but just like with all of us, you know, it's something that we should think about every day. We are not sometimes, we're not just for these times, we're for all times as individuals. And so thank you for energizing me today. Thank you for getting me ready for this Embrace Weekend. I'm looking forward to the rest of this program. Hearing my man, Pastor Thompson, do his vocal interpretations and all of that, and then the rest of this program. So thank you so much for having me.
So I told Anthony that he can't introduce me because we're family. I'm here every day. A lot of you guys know me as Coach Matt. Outside of here, I'm Minister Matthew Hugh Thompson Jr. over at Jubilee Christian Church. I'm the youth pastor over there. And the way things go at my church is before we do anything, we give honor where honor is due. So I want to honor you, Mr. President, for allowing me to come back. Mr. Mark, you were my advisor all the way back in 8th grade, and we've had a relationship ever since then. And I thank you and I praise you for every single time that we have a conversation, every time I get to speak to you. It's truly a blessing, and I appreciate you for always thinking of me and having me come in. And Anthony, I just got to give you honor and credit before you become like the president of the whole United States. I don't know. I just got to clap. Can we all clap it up for Anthony? Y'all know Anthony's doing an amazing job, right? I feel like you can clap a little louder than that. And now, I just need everyone to stand up on their feet super quick before I get into anything. So at my church, this is the last thing we're going to do. We say this thing, we say that a quiet church is a dead church, right? And right now we're having like a church service, right? Like we're here to honor MLK, we're having a prayer service, we're doing something. Now the reason we say a quiet church is a dead church is because if you look in the Bible, over 70% of the miracles that Jesus performed started off with someone else saying something first. It started off with blind Bartimaeus saying, Jesus, son of Nazareth, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me, and he was cured of his blindness. So now I need everyone to can we give a clap of praise, and can we shout for my God? Can we shout for Jesus right now? I feel like he deserves all. Guys, that is sweet. I just need to hear a hallelujah. Don't let me get louder than you. Don't. Hallelujah! Don't let me get too loud. No. I'm not hearing everybody right now. I said we all need to praise the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Can I hear everybody give a shout of praise right now. Hallelujah. I think you guys can get louder than that. Hallelujah. Okay, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. And now we're just going to bow our heads and pray before I do the spoken word. Stay on your feet. We're just going to pray really quick. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you and we praise you for this day. We thank you and we praise you that you allowed for all of us to get here safely and that you ordained for us to be here for such a time as this. We're so thankful that we get to honor MLK on this day. And we look at the Bible and we see in Hosea 6:3, it says, let us acknowledge the Lord, let us press on and acknowledge him, and as surely as the sun rises, he will appear. And God, as I know that the sun is up today, I know that as we acknowledge you in this room, that you are going to show up. So open up every heart, open up every mind, unstop every ear so we can hear from you today and forevermore. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Y'all can sit down. Y'all can sit down. Free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. I feel like it sounds better with like a southern twang to it, but my voice doesn't have a southern ring to it. Free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. See, we're here to talk about the power of stories. And I can tell a few, but my assignment is to tell a story that will have a lasting impact on you. Now, I'll tell you, what is a story? Everyone, can you lend me your ear? Let's talk about what a story is and what I think everyone should hear. John chapter 1, verse 1, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. See, before you can understand the power of a story, you have to understand the power of a word. Without a word, there is no story. Before you can get to the formation of complex sentence structures, continuing to construct continuous clauses, compounding consonants combined with a cacophony of vocal cords, there's a collaboration of characters that creates a word. And words, they have this power. Life and death is held in the power of the tongue. One word can hold the power to give life to someone. The words, let there be light, placing all of us in the sun. Let us make man, were the words used to create everyone. Then there's these 4 words. I have a dream. And you think it's Dr. King, but it was actually Joseph first. Genesis 37:5 is the verse. 2 dreams, but 1 story. 2 men fighting for their lives and others. Through famine, slavery, prisons, and pits, fighting for their brothers. Because of a dream. Through turmoil, through hell, I'm sure in heaven, there's a story they'll tell of how hard you have to fight for a dream. Now, I came here to do spoken word, but I can't do spoken word without speaking a word. And so hear me out really quick. I don't know if teachers, I don't know if you're going to understand this, but I believe that Martin Luther King Jr. had riz. Now, to my teachers in the room, I'm going to explain that to you. Riz is like, I got game. I know how to talk. I can finesse in any situation. And you can laugh at me if you want, but intentional riz is what I would call it. And I'm serious too, because he bagged a whole country, convincing it his dream was worth dying for, and then he followed it through. He had a dream of what I see standing before me today, a dream worth dying for. He used his own life to pay, to live a life worth living for. He set us along the way. See, I just told you a story without detailing it, so Picasso the picture in your mind. Without even using too much detail, I pray when you close your eyes it shows setup, rising, action, climax, and now the resolution. You'll know freedom won the war, and we'll never let that freedom go. And now I can stand here with hope, not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me, the path he laid for us, a legacy he left, a dream he trusted with us. Free at last. Free at last. Free at last, there are no chains. Free at last, let freedom reign. Free at last, we are unbound. Free at last. dream has come to pass.
Thank you, Matt. And I'll leave being president to you. Now I would like to call up Jamil Evans, Senior, Teresa House, to introduce our speaker from the Board of Trustees.
We are pleased to welcome AJ Okereke, class of 2010, to join us for our annual celebration of Martin Luther King Jr. Mr. Okereke joined the Board of Trustees this year and is the youngest alumnus to join the board in the history of BC High. Mr. Okereke is a first-generation American of Nigerian descent from Randolph. After BC High, Mr. Okereke went on to Cornell University, where he earned a bachelor's degree in economics and management. Recently, he graduated from the Wharton School and Harvard Kennedy School's joint MBA/MPA program and started a new position as an investor at Insight Partners. In 2021, Mr. Okereke was named Forbes 30 Under 30 for his work as an investor who backs companies bringing new services and consumer goods to Africa, including logistics provider Jetstream and digital wealth firm Shaka. Okereke backs founders transforming the African continent with innovative technologies and services, including many educated in the U.S. We are proud to call AJ Okereke a VLSU alumnus. Please welcome Mr. AJ Okereke, class of 2000.
Good morning on this beautiful day. My name is AJ Okereke, a Nigerian-American graduate of Boston College High School, class of 2010. I'm also a newly elected board trustee of our beloved school, Boston College High School. I'm the last of 5 children. My mom is here in the crowd. And grew up 30 minutes south of campus in the small but gritty town of Randolph, Massachusetts. I'm one of 2 in my family to attend BC High. I followed in the footsteps of my older brother, Ndu Okereke, who transferred into BC High from Randolph High School as a junior to excel academically and athletically. The opportunity to attend BC High changed the trajectory for my brother, myself, and my family. While my brother and I excelled in the Randolph public school system, we never truly felt challenged to be the best versions of ourselves. What we lacked was the opportunity to be pushed outside of our comfort zone and to truly grow academically, athletically, and spiritually. BC High provided us that opportunity. When I first arrived on campus as a freshman in 2006, I remember feeling shell-shocked. For the first time in my life, I was outside of my comfort zone. I was no longer the smartest person in the room or the most athletic person in the room, although our state championship banner for football hangs to the left over there. I was surrounded by the best and the brightest in the Boston area. While this new environment presented its challenges, I vowed to make the most of the opportunity to attend BC High. What that meant was that in order for me to stand out amongst some of the most talented young men at BC High, I was going to have to work harder than them. BC High taught me the importance of building good habits and structuring my days with intention. By the end of my time at BC High, I had mastered a routine rooted in focus, hard work, and dedication to my craft. Whether it was AP coursework, weight training, or football practice. I spent countless hours and any hour of my day on Morrissey Boulevard being intentional about the things I wanted to gain from my experience at BC High. This intentionality led to a Division I football scholarship from Cornell University for myself and my family. Funny thing is, I arrived at Cornell with the same shell-shocked feeling I experienced as a freshman at BC High. But the difference in these two feelings of shell shock was the reassuring confidence that I had built from the good habits and structure of my BC High experience. The building blocks I learned at BC High have carried me through many obstacles in my early life. So today, I urge each of you young men sitting here to be intentional about your BC High experience. Build good habits, structure your days, build a routine that will serve you, that will serve as the reassuring confidence that you need to overcome any challenge or obstacle in life. It is the honor of my lifetime to serve as a board trustee of an institution that has given me so much. It is a responsibility that I take with the utmost care. And I'm proud of the diversity, equity, and inclusion work that our beloved school and the Black and Latino Student Union have put forth over the years. It is something to be celebrated on a day like today as we honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King changed the course of American history. He worked tirelessly to ensure that all people, regardless of race, religion, and national origin, had equal opportunity. He worked tirelessly so that people like me could have the opportunity to attend an institution like BC High and speak in front of you all today. I took full advantage of my time on Morrissey Boulevard. Each of you can do the same. Seize the opportunity in front of you today to become leaders of competence, conscience, and compassion at Boston College High School. Thank you.
Thank you, AJ. It's also nice to share the stage with two other alums, so give it up for the alums who are on the stage today. Now, please stand as Chris Bender and company will lead us in our closing hymn. Thank you so much.
Hey everybody, y'all good? Did you all have a great time today? Is that the best response that you can tell me? Wait, I can't, that was like so low I couldn't tell. Did you have a great time today? Yeah! All right, so listen, we got one more song. Thank you all so much. Madam President, thank you to this phenomenal staff, to this incredible group of individuals. Thank you all for having me today. I'm so honored. Myself and my team are honored to be here. We can start playing. Mark, you gotta turn the keys on so we can sing the song. There you go. It was messing up my pretty talking times. But this last song that we're gonna sing is called Surrounded, and it simply talks and tells us that the best way to fight anything that you're experiencing is through worship and praise to God. The Bible says that we don't fight against flesh and blood, but we fight against principalities, rulers of darkness, wickedness in high places. And so what we're going to do is we're going to just release this song, this sound in this room. And once you get the lyrics, right, because I know you might be struggling to hear what I'm saying, but once you get the lyrics, I want you to help me sing the song. Can you do that one more time? I'll show you how you do it one more time. All right, here we go, cool. So the song is simple. It goes like this. Let's go, y'all. Yeah, let's say, this is how I find my battle. Can y'all help me say? This is how I fight. You sing. I'm gonna give y'all like a C minus. Let's turn up a little more. Let's go. This is how. This is how I find my, this is how I, come on, sing it in unison, y'all. Let's open mouth, let's go. This is how I find my,
This is how I find my battle.
you can clap your hands like this, come on. See, this is how I find my,
This is how I find my battle.
this is how I find my,
This is how I find my battle.
yeah, come on, let's build it up. No, lift it up, sing. This is how I find my,
This is how I find my battle.
come on, take it up a little higher, let's go. This is how I find my,
This is how I find my
this is
battle.
how I find my,
This is how I
Thank you, Chris, and the Gospel Choir. Give it up. Well, good morning, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm President Regan, and I'm along here with Principal Lewis, and I want to thank everyone for being here. This is an inspiring morning. We're really excited that you're all here. I especially want to thank Mr. Keith Motley for his incredible message, Wisdom, Witness, and Friendship. Please thank Mr. Motley. Excuse me, that was Dr. Motley. Dr. Motley. I want to thank AJ for his leadership and commitment to the Board of Trustees. And welcome. Please come. I want to thank Pastor Matt for his incredible inspiration. I want to thank Mr. DeCanto and Mr. Mark for their work with the BLSU. And most of all, we want to thank our leadership with the BLSU for your witness every day, for how you show up for one another, and for your leadership. So thank you. Just a few other things. We want to thank Mr. Stallworth for bringing us the Gospel Choir and for the IT presence. Thanks, Mr. Stallworth. And most of all, our facilities team for setting up every day and breaking down the tireless work that they do. So thank you so much to Jeff Keith and his team. And we also want to thank our parent leadership and our trustees for being with us today. The trustees have all been chosen a house and are sitting with their houses, so we're really grateful for your leadership. Thank you. And we really want to welcome back our friends at Notre Dame Academy, our colleagues and friends at NDA, and our colleagues and friends, Ms. Evie, and the Fun young ladies. So thank you very much for being here. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Lewis in just one second, but I read a great article on the Embrace statue this morning, and the Globe writer Murray White said a beautiful quote, and I'm just going to share that with you because it really captures what we're doing today. It says, "Its awkwardly ambiguous knot emanates warmth, endurance, exhaustion, and trauma all at once. We identify with a human gesture, with all its faults, before we identify them. Specifically, it makes the piece relatable, inviting, universal, human. It doesn't tell you what it is, it invites you to imagine what it could be, freighted with complexity and contradiction. There's nothing more human than that. And that is the work that we continue to do here at BC High with our commitment to equity and belonging and being an interracist community. And we want to thank the BLSU students for all that you do. And I'm going to turn it to Mr. Lewis. Thanks for being with us.
Feeling woefully inadequate is terrible. It's a terrible feeling. When I was younger, when I was your age, you probably had this experience of yourself where you just feel inadequate or woefully inadequate for whatever reason. As I've got older, I've come to realise that sometimes it's a blessing. It's humbling. Today, as I stand here feeling woefully inadequate, it is a really stunning blessing because I don't think there's anything I can say or add to what's been shared and felt here this morning. It's been stunning, it's been beautiful, and it's been so congruent to who we are as a Jesuit school. But it's important you understand that's how I feel as I stand here, which is not how I always feel when I stand here, obviously. Now, BLSU leaders of what do you bring to BC High? So I spent my life thinking what our mission in action looks like when it's fully alive. And when I imagine a school where 1,400 boys and 200 adults can walk in here every morning with their whole heart and their true selves, then the mission is really alive. There are days when I walk in here, I don't feel like I'm in my true self, my whole heart, for whatever reason. And I know you all feel that at different times, and it's aspirational. But that responsibility we have to each other, to allow ourselves, to allow each other to come in here with our whole hearts and our full selves every day. And to the BLSU men who have challenged us to do that, for your leadership and your presence, thank you so much. I don't know what will come back to me when I reflect on this. There is so much My heart has been moved so profoundly in so many different ways today. But what's sitting with me immediately was when Q got up here to speak. I'm sure you can all remember it. And he exhaled audibly. Can you remember it? You could have heard a pin drop. Inside out leadership, presence, authenticity. How many times have I said to you, Christ exists in the space between us? That space he gave us. Those 3 seconds. Oh my God. And I generalize that to what we've experienced here. So you walk out of here, your heart has been moved. It needs to keep moving and it needs to represent itself in action. If we are not a better school here on Tuesday, if we can't walk in those doors with our whole selves and our whole heart, we haven't allowed ourselves to be moved. So boys, be moved, be better. Mr. DeCanto, our BLSU men, thank you for making us better. I'll just ask the members of the Board of Trustees to leave first, and then I'll ask Mr. Stevens to come out and dismiss the rest of the school. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Well, we can do better than that. Good morning, everyone. All right, so before we dismiss us, we're going to say a few words, guys. Today was refreshing, and it was reassuring that all of us here at BC High are dedicated and committed to standing together and doing the work needed to grow together. Like, even during my interview, I always say the same thing. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm exactly where I need to be. And I'm pretty sure some of us all feel that way. If you feel that way, say amen. Come on, if you feel that way, say amen. All right, can we get a standing ovation real quick for everything that happened here today? All representatives of music, come on, can we stand, please? Come on, can we stand? Let's shout, let's clap, come on.